and welcome to the Rock Your Business channel. Actually, from today, I should have renamed it Rockstar Business, but I've chosen to just let it be the way it was. So it will continue as the Rock Your Business channel. But from now on, I will be talking about a business model, if you can call it that, that I am developing. So it's kind of like a work in progress. But I'm very excited to share it with you. And that business model is called the Rockstar Business. So before I dive into that, or before this channel becomes all about that, I would like to lay out the other business models that are available or that I have identified. So I've been kind of like struggling finding my mojo as a yoga teacher, as a a lover of marketing and a lover of sales, and I have a degree in business actually. So I've always loved the idea of having a business. So that was kind of hard to let go, I have to say. And the third pillar is my writing, so my creativity. So I have been struggling between these three, and I've now ultimately settled on, or landed on, a new business model called Rockstar Business. So the three that I have wrestled with are actually the three very common business models. So if Rockstar Business is the fourth business model, then what are the other three that I have largely unconsciously been battling and have been having difficulty with identifying the three? So the first of the three business models that you may encounter in your surroundings, or that you may be in or doing, is the service provider. So the service providers, examples of those are the yoga teacher, the coach, the mechanic, you can, like, a lot of the mechanic in any way, so it could be like of your car, but also of other things. Those are all service providers, and for the service provider, the core is helping. So the well-being of the client or the customer is their primary focus. And a part of that, usually a very small part of that, can be identified as the monetized part of that. So typically when you come to a service provider, they will have a conversation with you about what you need. They have a conversation with you about what they can do for you. They have they invest in you. They want to hear your story about what made you choose for them or their craft, and those are all non-monetized things. The only thing that is monetized is if you pay for a certain time slot. If you say, okay, I want to have your service for an hour, and then you pay. But everything around that is not monetized, and that's really that's one of the characteristics of a service provider, is that it's an industry where at large, a large part of the work and of the interaction does not have a price tag and is free. And that is because the core of a service provider is to help. So that's the service provider model. And like most yoga teachers, for example, are service providers. Then the second business model is the entrepreneur. The entrepreneur is mainly interested, or should be mainly interested, in the business as a separate entity. So there's a book out there, and it was like the first edition of it was written in the 80s, and it's called The E-Myth by Michael, I don't know his last name, but it's called The E-Myth, and E stands for entrepreneur, and it's the myth that, basically the myth that service providers are entrepreneurs. And it's a great book, and it's a great book to understand the difference between a service provider and an entrepreneur. It's a great book to understand what you have to do as a service provider to build a sustainable business, a business that you can sell, a business that does not have all those hours that are uncalled for, or not uncalled for, but that are not monetizing, not being monetized. What do you have to do to go from being a service provider or selling something to having a business, having something that has its own identity and something that is an entity, something that is something that you can sell. Like, in 10 years' time, you could be, if I am a good entrepreneur and I have a yoga studio, then in 10 years' time, I can sell it. If I keep seeing myself as a service provider who now has a yoga studio, then even 10 years from now, I will not be able to sell it. So the E-Myth from Michael is a great book to understand, if you are a service provider, how you can turn that into being an entrepreneur, having a business. And so that's the second of the three business models. You have the service provider, you have the entrepreneur, which is a business owner, which is someone who sees the life and the sustainability and the profitability of the business as priority number one, not the well-being or the helping of the client. So those are the two kind of like business models. Then the third one is the artist. And this is also one that is, oh my God, there are so many artists, and I was one of them, who want to see themselves as service providers. So instead of seeing themselves as, I am a creative writer, I am a creative photographer, I am a creative whatever, they see themselves as a a photographer that you can hire. Now, to tie that, before I take it further, to tie that third business model, the artist who is like, I don't want to starve, I want to monetize my skills so that it can pay for my art. If that's you, then remember what I just said. There's a difference between a service provider and a business. If you are an artist and you're like, I don't want to, put all my eggs in one basket, I don't want to risk not having money, and by going all in on my creative career, I want to monetize my skills, then read that book too, The E-Myth, or other books, or take other courses that tell you how to build a real business, not a service provider model. So let's say I'm a photographer and I say, yes, I want to make money with my skills. I don't want to be just an artistic photographer aiming for fame and aiming for, eternal glory. I want to monetize my skills on a day-to-day basis. Now, then the photographer can either start seeing themselves as a service provider, meaning that 50% or something, or maybe less, maybe more, of their skills will be not monetized, and they will have to give it for free, and they will have to, be in lengthy conversations about what the client wants. And all those things. Or they can say, hey, I want this thing to make money because I have my creativity over there. I have my real work, my real purpose, my real aim over there. When I step away from that artistic life, I want to be here in a real business and not in a service provider model. Then you get a different kind of dynamic. An example is for the photographer, you could like on your website say a wedding photography is, I don't know, like 2,000 euros. I'm just taking it out of, I don't know what the rates are, but take a rate that that really feels really good for you, and say a wedding photography 1 day, 2,000 euros, and if you want to have it very short notice, then it costs extra. Or you say if you book 2 months in advance, you get a 20% discount. So you already kind of like put in the effort of packaging up what you are selling, so that a customer, someone who visits your website, can kind of like channel their ideas through what you have already created for them. If you have different options on your website, like, okay, I have like a fee for 1 day, I have a 15% off if you book me 2 months in advance, I have a 30% higher if you want to book me in a week. Like, this is like really kind of like basic stuff. But then you're kind of like triggering, well, not triggering, that sounds negative. You're inspiring your customer, the visitor of your website, to start thinking about what it is they want. And then you're already a business. You're thinking as a business. You're thinking in what are the units or the products that I want to sell. And you're no longer thinking as a service provider, as in, oh, I'm just coming all the way to meet you wherever you're at. Who are you as a couple? What would you like on your wedding? And all those things that cost a lot of time and are very satisfactory to your clients, but that do not necessarily contribute to the business as a business. Okay, so that was the third category, is the artist. And the artist can have one of the other two models there to make them money, but the artist's prime loyalty is the relationship with their work, the relationship with their whatever it is they're creating. So where the service provider is with everything they do, the priority is this helping someone? Is this increasing my expert status? Is this necessary in order to be the best that I can in my industry? The same way in a business, the focus is this healthy for the business? Is this going to make money for the business? Is this going to make name for the business? Is this going to draw in new clients to the business? Is this going to make me bigger or make my my client base bigger? And that's, so the focus there is the business. For an artist, the focus, the priority, the thing that gets to live no matter what, is their creativity. So with everything they do, they have to think, okay, does this benefit my creativity? Does this pay off in my creativity? Does this leave enough time and attention and awareness with my creativity, with my main work, does this inspire me? So if you're an artist, if that's your business model, then your ultimate goal is to do the creative work that you feel that you need to do. And you will have an interest in being able to sell it, but an interest that matches your desire to be creative, to be an artist. You're not interested in creating something just to sell it that will in the meantime kind of like kill your soul, or will take you 2 weeks to recover from. That's not what an artist does. So those three different models have a different emphasis. The service provider is the emphasis on the client and their own expert status. So they have to have an expert status to win the trust of the client, and to kind of like have this umbrella where the client can shelter under. The second, the entrepreneur has the priority on their business and creating a healthy business and a strong business, including all the money flows. And the third one, the artist, has the priority with the work. Their prime relationship is with the work and not with their business and not with the client. So now I've created, or I am creating, the fourth one, and that is the rock, or a fourth one, not the fourth one. I don't think there's kind of like a limit on this, but and that's a rock star business. And the reason I've started developing this is because a rock star is different from an artist. Because a rock star has a relationship with their audience, as opposed to an artist. You could be a studio musician and then you're an artist, but you're not a rock star. A rock star has a relationship with their audience, just like the service provider, but they do not have that hierarchy. An artist is not the expert that is going to help the people in the audience. The rock star and the audience or their fans, they're equals. They're part of the same tribe. And it's such an interesting and inspiring relationship. It's, I've been thinking about this now for a couple of weeks or months, and it's absolutely fascinating. If you, I will give an example. Like with rock stars, you always have, especially in the 80s and the 90s, I don't know if they still do that, but in the 80s and the 90s and the 70s, like rock stars had kind of like, they had kind of like diva-esque demands, and they would like tear up hotel rooms and, stuff like that. So they were kind of like antisocial, but do you know with whom their loyalty lay all that time? With their fans. They didn't curse at their fans. They didn't, they had the conflict happening with their record company, or with their tour manager, or with journalists, but they didn't have the conflict with their fans. And I think that is absolutely amazing to kind of like aspire to whatever it is that you want to do. Can you make that into a rock star model? Another very interesting thing about the relationship a rock star has with their audience is that they do not have a direct monetary exchange. It's not that the rock star says, well, did you buy my CD? No, I didn't buy your CD. Oh, well, then I have a different relationship to you. The rock star has the same relationship with everybody who, shows up. And they don't know who bought or who didn't buy. And it's kind of like not the point anyway. Because the fans or the audience, they're bringing their time, they're bringing their attention. And there are, obviously rock stars are selling their music, they're selling concert tickets, but the relationship is still very, very different of that of an entrepreneur with the clients of the business, or with the customers, or that of a service provider with the customers or the clients. It's very, very different. So even though there is money going around, the details are different, the dynamics are different, and ultimately the rock star is part of there's equality there. There's absolutely equality, and there's no, like, neither one has to show up, and neither one can make the other show up. If a rock star wants to quit, then there's nothing you can do. And the same thing, if the audience doesn't show up anymore, if you don't have fans anymore, there's nothing you can do. You can't make each other kind of like, you can't force each other to be in this relationship. As opposed to if you're a service provider or if you're a business, continuity from your part, continuity of your business, of your service, the certainty that next year you will still be here, providing the same service and probably even doing it better because you've learned more. The continuity of a service provider and the continuity of a business is kind of like what makes what's like the foundation of the relationship. And for an artist also, so not a rock star, but another artist, it's so important to that moment, for example, when a writer has to write his second book. That is in publishing, that is a very difficult time when a publisher doesn't really know if he has someone under contract who wrote one book, or if he has a writer under contract. So even for an artist like a writer or a musician or a painter, it's ultimately about the body of work. It's ultimately about not what you have created in the past, but what you will be creating in the future. It's ultimately about your continuity. Whereas the rock star is the only one who is with their audience, with their fans, where everybody has the perfect understanding that we're only here because we want to be here, and that other person is only here because they want to be here, and that it can be over like this. If if the rock star leaves, if someone in the audience leaves, if the whole audience leaves, then it's gone. And there is a freedom in that. There's a reason why rock stars are associated with freedom, with levels of freedom that other professions do not have. And this is one of the ways where that expresses itself. And this is what I want to kind of like bring into this channel and bring into, how can you start to create that for yourself if that speaks to you. If it speaks to you to let go of the idea of running a business, to let go of the idea that you have to help people, to let go of the idea that you have to be, alone all the time with your work, and that being with audience or being with clients is only there to make you money so that you can then run back to your art like the artist does. If you want to leave all that behind and you want to say, yeah, I want to try that really speaks to me. I want to have that freedom of a rock star, and I want to give the people who admire my work or who want to be with me the freedom that a rock star gives to their fans or their audience. Then that's what we're going to do here in this channel. It will be you know, it will be an exploration because I don't think this has ever been done before. Actually, it is the other way around. So that means that a lot of rock stars, a lot of musicians have been kind of like forced or taken their or on their own accord to start thinking of themselves as businesses. So they have kind of like moved away from that freedom, moved away from that very equal relationship they used to have with their audience into the more, you know, fixed dynamics of being an entrepreneur, fixed dynamics of being a service provider, fixed dynamics of being a fully creative artist on one side and hustling and making money, seeing that as a completely separate thing. So that's what this channel is going to be about. I'm very excited. Oh, and my compliments to you that you made it to the end of the video, because I know this was a very, I don't know, dense, I think, video. I think it had like everything that I have found out or studied or otherwise came into my path like the past 30 years. So bravo for making it all the way to the end. Join me on my journey. This is a new channel, and so it was always very new, but I'm now kind of like, I feel like this is the first time I'm actually launching it. I'm actually starting it. I finally know what we're going to do here. And I hope you subscribe. I hope you keep watching, and see you in the next video. Bye.